Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. What's been going down on the ice? Who are the leaders? Who are the failures? The Ducks, the Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
And the Monday Night Lights podcast is back. Brian Piercy here with Andrew Hedis. TJ Otto is running a little bit late. Sounds like he's got some parroting responsibilities. How you doing, Andrew Hedis?
I'm doing pretty solid. Another fantastic eve here at the well, and lots to talk about today, it looks like, on the Sketty.
Yep. As always, you can give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show podcast at mnlhl.com. Follow and subscribe to us on Twitch. We're at 99 followers. Let's get to triple digits, baby. Also, if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime. Free sub every month you can use for us. I guess let's get down to it. Last podcast, we talked about it. Game 1 of the finals was already done. Game 2 and 3 already took place, and the season is now over. So when we left, the North Stars were up 1-0. But game 2, I don't know how much we actually want to get details into games. People have already heard. They know the news for the most part. But the Seals, close game, 2-1 victory to go into how game 2 finished out.
Yeah, the Seals kind of put their offensive minds and their to work there. They got 2 goals through the first and early second, and kind of led the entire game. Late into the third, when the North Stars got a goal, or late in the second, the North Stars got a goal to kind of respond back, and we're able to eke out the 2-1 victory. I know that Pfister scored one. Shawnee had the first one. That was a nice kind of rebound goal on one side of the crease on Officer Aaron. And then I think the biggest for me, my star of that game was Rattler, which, I mean, we'll go into a little bit of that in game 3 on who was there, who was missing, and whatnot. But Rattler played monstrous. He was probably the biggest bounce back story between game 1 and 2. He was able to shut down that North Star second line and really force them to make some tough decisions going into game 3 with their lineup.
And unfortunately, in that game, Gio, he got hurt. So I think it's his wrist technically that was hurt. Broken. He's been to the doctor. He's been to the specialist. I haven't heard the news on that, but I had to pay attention to a lot of that. I missed a lot of that second game as I was helping him out. I had to take him to the emergency room, but that's not a fun injury to have.
No, yeah, it was really unfortunate to see out there on the ice. It was a kind of a bang play that was a 2-on-1, and Matt Lapoudre kind of got up and tried to get some space after they were both fighting for the puck, and Gio kind of went wrist first into the boards there. And it just looked ugly. I mean, you could tell. I mean, he was kind of holding his wrist, and no one really kind of knew what was going on at first. And then as soon as he went and grabbed his wrist, all of us that were outside on the rink and watching, me, I think Seminelli was there for the second game, and Charles was. We all kind of like cringed a little bit, and eventually was able to get off the ice. And thank the heavens that Ben was there to apply his EMT expertise. The guy's a mad lad with the ability to turn Kleenex boxes and like use cigar like the wrappers, or you name it. Here, Ben, here's a piece of cardboard, and it turns it into like the world's greatest splint. I don't know how he does it, but yeah, without him, I think we'd be a little bit struggling there for some more EMT help for our injuries, since we seem to have so many.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't responsible for that, as I was a certified lifeguard, but at the same time, that was a while ago. I'm not good under that kind of pressure. Don't make me do that. I was glad Ben was there for sure. Good thing about game 2 for the Seals, it was nice to see Dylan make a strong outing back. He kind of had, first goal, he let up five goals, comes back with 1 goal, kind of got them back into the series as well. So that was really nice to see that strong play.
Yeah, it was a good bounce back game for him as well. He's probably I want to say my second star or third star of the night. I can remember when we put it in Slack, but I know he's one of the stars of the night. I had an all seal slate there for the roster. I felt they really kind of carried the play there in that second game. So,
Yeah, real quick, like to thank Jay Drager as for his 10th month of subscription as well. We really appreciate that for the league. Going into game 3 then, uh, unfortunately, this was not much of a game. The North Stars won the game 7-2.
spoiler alert.
Like we said, Gio was out, so Skillman he subbed in for Gio, and then I believe on the other side, Rattler was out. Congratulations, he just had his first child.
hmm
Uh, the curse, Dave P, subbed in for the Seals. First of all, before we talk about the game, what was Whoop thinking here?
Um, honestly, I'm not against Whoop on this sub. So going into that spot, if you have a couple choices of types of players you can choose from that round on down, and you're trying to fill that like speed for speed, kind of cardio guy that can forecheck, guy that can kind of move the puck a little bit. If you're looking at those players in that round, I mean, Skillman, for as good of a player Skillman is, he is not like Rattler. He is not Dave P. He doesn't have those same kind of wheels. Granted, can he play that similar position at center and just be like Godzilla out there, terrorize the middle of the ice and use his reach to his ability, use his size and headman the puck up to his wingers like we saw in Game 3 for the North Stars to Troy. Can he do that? He can, but not knowing that Gio was going to get hurt in Game 2. And the Seals kind of asking Dave P, like, hey, can you sub? Like it's kind of I don't want to say it's a mistake because it wasn't a mistake, but had they known that it was going to play out, Game 2 was going to play out the way it did, and Gio was going to get injured, and the North Stars would have to ask a sub, I think maybe Whoop kind of, strong arms and sees he can get Skillman in over Dave P, and then have Dave P slot in for the North Stars. So uh, it was a tough decision to make on Whoop's part, but again, like I mentioned earlier, he can't really plan for Gio's injury, and I don't think North Star's playing either. I mean, what happens if Skillman says no? They have to go to the 5th round to find somebody.
Well, I guess the big thing here is, does this make you believe in the curse of Dave P even more?
Yes. I mean, I think now it's sold that the Dave P curse is greater than the bin curse. Sorry, Dave P, but I mean, you've owned up to it too. So I mean, you can take a ribbon pretty well. But yeah, the Dave P curse is real, and it doesn't matter when and where Dave P plays, but the team he's on is not winning. So
And for those subs, I believe those two guys, they had 4 goals for the North Stars. Dave P had 1 on his own net, and Skillman had a hat trick. So great production out of the subs for the North Stars.
yeah, so it was kind of a wild game. So just to kind of break it out really, really quick, Skillman ended up subbing for the North Stars. For the Seals, it was Dave P. Seminelli was playing defense for the Seals. Obviously, he had to do the swap-a-rooney. When Leroy came back in, his ankle was able to hold up. So Leroy slotted back in on D, and off they went. And as you just mentioned, Skillman had a hat trick in that game, and Dave P actually put one in on his own net, accidentally, of course. It was off his shin guard, it deflected in. But you could argue that the single biggest factor of that game was twofold. One, the North Stars made a lineup change, bringing in Skillman. Ty suggested a brilliant kind of move and a little gamesmanship, little chess piece move, something out of like a Scotty Bowman playbook where he put Skillman, Troy, and himself on the second line and ran like an overpowered first line with Pete, Sutsy, and Joe Ellis, and they ran that up against Shawnee and Pfister. So then Dave P's line was going to have to, score goals if they, the first lines neutralize each other. It was kind of the Flying Otto brothers and Skillman up against Dave P and Neville and to see if they could battle out and see who gets some goals there. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I don't know if you think that was kind of a really shrewd and tactical move that like were paid out for them in the end. I mean, it seems like it did, but
I was more with Whoop, a little bit disappointed where the Seals, we're the top dogs of the league. We've been number 1 all year. And I know they had subs based on, who was gone, but they kind of flipped their lineup upside down from where they were. They had Rubelin, they had Lapoudre in, and Alan Z, who was the back line, a nice surprise all year playing defense. Now he gets moved up. Their lines were, flipped upside down. And I just don't think they had that chemistry that they had most of the year. And I have to question them adjusting those lines how they did, where at least at the beginning, first game or two, they should have kept them the same, rolled with what got them there, and they didn't. They were playing defense. They were back on their feet the whole way. They kind of they did not have a confidence going into the finals, in my opinion, by making those changes.
That's fair. I'm of like I said, an opposite mind a little bit, as I kind of expressed a little bit earlier. I felt like the North Stars made a really great tactical move. And if you looked at records and just like goals for and goal differential going into the finals, the North Stars were by a long shot. We're the best team in the league after the Thanksgiving break. It was the North Stars had the best goal differential. North Stars had the most points per game played. I don't think they lost a game. They got what? They lost one fake scrimmage game against the Seals or something like that. They won like I think they won out. They won like 8 games out. So like it or 7 games out. So the ability to make that big trade and get Pete, I felt kind of and Joe Ellis kind of solidified their team almost as like a top dog just as much as the Seals. So for the Seals to react as much as they did, like you said, and throw Alan Z back on defense might have been a mistake, but I definitely think they did need to change up their second line a little bit and how they operated because I don't think a defensive pairing of Whoop and Mechanic and Leroy and Alan Z were going to hold back that North Stars firepower.
It's so hard to say. Watching those games, especially the first one or two, things did seem slow. Nobody had their legs. We've all been kind of stuck in the house. Not the same teams that we had a couple months ago. So I'm sure that was a factor as well. Some people like Whoop, he looked great. Other people, actually, I don't know if I saw anybody who looked bad, but like I said, no one's been playing hockey for the last couple months, so it's just a whole new game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna call. I don't want to call too many names here. I felt Shawnee probably could have played a little bit better that series. I know he got a goal in the second game, but I was expecting Shawnee to do some Shawnee things, and I think I was also expecting. Who's it was Marvin and no, it's Marvin Sikorsky and Rubel. Oh no, Ruben Sikorsky. That's what I was looking for. Rubel looked a little. He looked good out there, but not normal Rubel. He looked like he had some rust on his skates. I know there's a couple goals that even bounced off him because he would tie somebody up and he wouldn't be facing the puck. So you could tell there's a lot of rust out there, even in that finals for those 3 games. But overall for the series, I mean, I'm glad they got it in. I'm glad that they played all 3 games. And I think the biggest caveat on this finals, everyone will think of in the future will be not subgate because it wasn't really a subgate, but they'll just remember that Skillman was the X factor that was supposed to play even hockey in the second line and ended up outscoring Dave +4, which isn't just insanity. So, which kind of leads us a little bit into the next year's draft, right? And like not going to segue topics here, but should he be a third rounder? There was a lot of like fake talk on the on the Slack webs and the Ivory Tower I had heard, but then that kind of got quelled down. So after that, because there was only 1 game, but
Well, before I got into the Ivory Tower, all of those keeper selections were already put in place. Whoop tried to flame the fires a little bit in the last couple days.
he got burned.
No, I honestly, from kind of what I gathered, he didn't pay attention a whole lot to what was going on with keeper picks and just in general. And then when he saw them in mock draft setups, he was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" I was staying out of it. They were settled. They were kind of stamped. Why try to light the fire again? He was trying to gather momentum of like, come with me, guys. Like, let's fight this fight. I'm staying out of it. Like I said, just when those matters are settled, you might as well just let it be till the next year. Look at how people play. Because if not, things are just always going to keep coming up if you don't like the decision. And there's not a good reason to do that. So I guess my other thought here before we kind of go into the draft though is overall thoughts on this season.
It was a fun season. I personally was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't finish out from my personal standpoint couldn't finish out the playoffs. I know there's a couple other players as well. I mean, I think Proctor would be a little disappointed. Obviously, he's injured and couldn't finish it out. Who else? Leroy was hurt at the time, and then he was at least able to play the last game. So all the guys that were injured, Gio as well. They probably were kind of disappointed they couldn't play because everyone always wants to play hockey, especially in these trying COVID times. And you can't get ice, and then you can get the finals go on. That's great. That's fantastic. But overall in the season, I liked it a lot. Bringing the new characters in the league, Dylan, Silly Goose Lesnar, it's been fantastic. He's been an absolute cherry in this league. Fister's been complete dynamite, bringing his uncle almost every single week. New guys like Sikorsky, Matt Taylor, even. I mean, I know he doesn't talk a lot, but when he does talk up on Slack, it's always a great hoot hollering time. Us all the new guys in general. Suitsy's been great. Doc Hollywood came in for 6 months. I know he's Troy's bud, and they had a great locker room gel there. So I imagine they loved having best of buds back together again. Little Will Ferrell and John C. Riley. But overall, for me, a great season. I don't know if it's as good as the second season because I won the keg the second season, or I pseudo won the keg the second season, as all the fans like to deter me and say I didn't. But yeah, this is a great season for me. I think every Monday Night Lights is going to be a great season. So and you're never going to really have a bad one. It's just ranking. It's like ranking like sports cars. You want a Ferrari or Lamborghini. Every season's great.
Yeah, another good season. It's hard to say there's ever a bad season. Well, North Stars did win, so that is
Yeah,
a downfall on
it's
on things in
2020.
general. But
Anything can happen.
it is what it is. Thoughts on the seventh team? Now we did expand one team, odd numbers. One team did have a bye every week. Did you like that? Would you rather have an even number of teams? Thoughts on that?
I think eventually the eighth team should be expanded to. Maybe, I mean, obviously not this season because as all the fans at home know, and if they don't know, and then I mean, we've already kind of spoiled it a little bit, that there's still only 7 teams in the league. But I think eventually the eighth team will get there. It'll be nice, but having every other 6 Monday off isn't terrible. Having 7 teams in the league, so and it's nice having something to play for. Like having one team out of the playoffs isn't. I don't feel as a detriment. It actually makes the season mean something and be worth something a lot of times. In a lot of other beer league hockey, you'll play a 24 game season and you'll end up in first place or fifth out of 6 teams, and doesn't matter. Everyone makes the playoffs, and it's kind of like, I mean, not that you waste all those months playing hockey because you're doing something you love and it's fun, but it makes it a little more meaningless. Whereas like you go to Europe, other places, other different kinds of sports, all they have is a regular season. They don't have all these extra playoffs. So I do like the fact that one team does get to miss it. And I think we wouldn't have the opportunity unless we had 7 teams in the league.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to going both ways. Obviously, we brought in a lot of good guys that are valuable to the league. So without expanding, a lot of those guys probably wouldn't be part of the league. Another thing is like you said, I think not having every team make the playoffs is a great thing. It put a lot more emphasis. Like at the end, it was always like how many points for the Ducks to be eliminated. These teams, I know, even as like the Whalers, we had a couple uh, low points in the year where it was like just like looking at the standings. If things go wrong, we could be in trouble. It made more. There was more to the season of like it counts more this time. So I would like to see the 8 team as well eventually. I think if you did that, you'd probably go 6 teams still make the playoffs. I think you'd probably have 2 teams not, maybe 7 make it. I don't know. I'd prefer the 6 teams again and 2 out type of thing, but I think it was a good job. And I think, hopefully we'll continue to move ahead. Ice time is always an issue as far as, we want to keep everything together. I don't think you'd want to do, 2 different nights of, we're going to have one game on a Wednesday or on a Tuesday, anything like that. And I don't think there's a lot of people that are like, let's get that 11 o'clock ice.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of agree with that. The only way you could swing extra ice is you'd have to, I don't know, make some underworld deal with the manager or something, and somehow be able to shift one of those honey baked skates to half an hour early or something. I don't know. Maybe Troy Family Auto Properties has some media presence or some jazz. Like, hey, we'll buy some board sponsorships, and you want to give us a better time here or something. I have no idea what happens, but long story short, yeah, unless you can move those ice times before we get on with the honey baked skates, we're not getting that extra sheet.
Yeah, and then from there, so the finals ended on a Friday. The draft was a Wednesday, so no time in between seasons, no time for the North Stars to enjoy things. We talked about during the last podcast, we weren't 100% sure where things were going to be as far as the location. We ended up finding a location, Norm's Field of Dreams, over on Rochester Road and 15 Mile Road. They're only open a couple days a week right now. We were able to rent it out on a Wednesday and have an outdoor patio. So what was the thoughts on the location?
The location was great. I like that the patio was pretty large. I mean, in this year a little bit. This year was a little bit better, I thought, than last year, where you actually could see the board. Everyone was able to fit in one place. You even had a nice setup for the stream of the draft, so Ben and myself could call some picks out here and there, talk about some stats, bring in some guests like Koner and Camer and Turtle. So it was fun. I liked it. I thought it was a little bit better than the Shamrock last year. But one thing not to get ahead of is in addition to having the draft at Norms Field of Dreams, I don't think the fans at home, or well, the ones that don't know that you're a GM now. And
We talked about that last
did
week.
we really with how
Or
last week?
podcast.
Last podcast? Really? I thought Brendan left between now and the last podcast.
No, we were able to talk about it the last podcast because Joey was gone.
Oh, you're right. I apologize.
And,
Ignore me.
sad him moving to Arizona, but good with the bad type of thing, or more the bad with the good.
You're right. I got a goldfish memory.
But yeah, so after the last podcast, mentioned to Troy about Norms because I kind of knew about their situation, what they were doing. He called in the next day, was able to book that. Location worked out well, at least for me, because it's only about a mile and a half away. Oh, TJ is here.
Oh, he's huffing and how did you run here? Speedy Gonzalez out here, man. Woof.
Where am I?
You can just use that mic, baby. You're good to go. Oh, I like the unis he's got. What is this, like the long sleeve, like sports? He's got the
From a baseball.
and he's got like the Ray-Bans with the mirrors on, the polarized. Tons of bottles of water in there. He's hydrated.
But yeah, so I thought the location was good. It's nice and close. Having the deck out, or the patio outside was good with what's going on in the world today. Obviously, food was it was okay. It was tough for them to keep up, I think, a little bit on that side of things. It would have been a little bit nicer if they had more of a full staffed kitchen and you could order possibly like a burger or something else. But pizza was okay. Could have been a little bit better on that side. But for the circumstances, I think the situation was good. So, Ty, how you doing today?
Did I come into a food review?
We actually are starting a tasteable social media food channel and,
Really?
on Instagram. Yep, and
was here
Justin
for-
Wright and Aaron Riley are going to take the lead on that, and they're going to do tons of photo ops. I mean, Riley is the king of Instagram. You should know he's your goalie this year again. So, but yeah, just talk to him about it. They're going around to review tons of hipster restaurants like Chad's Bistro in Rochester. It's gonna be
Sounds
great.
good.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Sounds
great.
fun.
So, how you doing today?
Oh, shit. Came back from a heartbreaking loss. Feel like a duck right now. Just feel like I threw it all out there and got nothing in return. Everything we did was wrong, but I'm here. I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry I'm late.
Well, unfortunately for you, we missed out on talking about your keg winning performance during the finals.
But fortunately for the fans,
Well, I'm sure everyone's watched it and rewatched it again. So, I mean, I'm sure everyone's up to date and everyone's heard how I single-handedly got Skillman a hat trick and won the third game, and big monkey off the back, and it feels good. So we're onward and upward onto the next season. So what else have you guys done?
So,
we talked about your chest and like moves. We talked about norms
Yeah.
a little bit. Now
Yeah.
we're about to segue into the draft.
So
Okay.
what were your thoughts on the location of the draft this year?
I thought it was fantastic. I mean, the food wasn't great, but what are you gonna do?
We're in alignment there, but it was better than trying to go to a place and being like, sorry, y'all can't come in because we're at our
Yeah,
50% capacity right now. That would have been a lot worse. So, yeah, we're pretty much onto the draft. So, we did have a trade before the draft started. So, it was the Tigers and the Nordiques. What happened was the Tigers moved up to the third spot for the goalie draft, and they also received 47, 52, and 66. And then the Nordiques looks like they got the 7th goalie pick, 41st, 44th, and the 69th pick. When you saw that trade, Edis, what was your initial thoughts?
At first, I was thinking, wow, the Tigers made out like bandits, because I was thinking, oh, the Tigers can move their low end, their goalie pick. They can get a higher guy in the draft. Being able to move up, solidify the goalie position is kind of one of Skillman's things. He doesn't like having, like, I guess, like a lower end goalie, especially if you don't have the most top end defense. And where he was picking, he could also shed like the very bottom end of the 10th round and swap that with the Deeks. He was thinking it was a big win. But actually looking at the picks and what they swapped, it took me about like 4 or 5 minutes for me to sit there and draw this out in paper. Like with flow charts, we're looking like it's the Hangover, and like the numbers are going above our head. And then we realized, wow, actually, no, the Nordiques made out like bandits. In the largest trade in MNL's history, the Nordiques like swapped the highest pick and like their lowest pick and ended up like 2 middle better picks. It was insane. So all they did was they shedded their bottom tier goalie, which in this draft is with 3 goalies are kind of unknowns. It was like not necessarily that big of a risk, very risk averse, kind of assertive move there. And then they were able to get a guy at the end of the draft they wanted, which, I mean, let's face it, if they can draft family and friends, the Deeks do, and they were able to do that at the end of the draft. And then their other 3 picks in the middle rounds were all better. So it was a win for the Deeks on paper.
Ty, did you even know that trade took place?
I knew it took place. I don't understand it. I think so. I don't know exactly the implications. I was running from a baseball game on that day too. I left early. This game I was not allowed to leave early because it's the putt. So
the trade was the Deeks 41st, 44th, and 69th and goalie pick for the 47th, 52nd, 66th, and goalie pick of the Tigers. So the Deeks moved up in the mid rounds 8 picks and then 6 and 3. Yeah, they moved up 11. They moved up 11 plus. Oh my God. Yeah, they moved up 20 draft position picks minus the goalie. I mean, I don't count the goalies. If you count the goalie, they beat 16 value differences. So they moved up like 16 value differences outside the goalie. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was interesting when I saw the pick out or the trade. I was kind of like, what? I had to double, triple look at it because we were kicking the tires with the Tigers about possibly them moving up to our spot. And, we made some initial offers and then they made some counters and we just were not close to meeting eye to eye on picks. Like they were looking at flip-flopping a ton of picks where if you took the goalies out of the actual trade, we didn't think it was a fair trade then. You think we'd be getting that advantage there, but we were just like, we wouldn't do that trade with the goalie without the goalies involved type of thing. Mm-hmm. So when I saw this trade, I was kind of just like, what's going on here? It did not make sense to me.
Yeah, and I mean, once we dive into each team's makeup and how the draft went, the surprises and the steady picks, you'll kind of see, I guess, everyone's opinion on whose team's best, whose team's worst, etc. And one of this trade in particular kind of dictated some of the team spots on our list. So
right, I figure we will kind of do an overview of each team, but first, was there any big surprises in the draft that you were just like, what happened? What's going on? I'm surprised by that.
I think the biggest and the first surprise in the draft, our new podcast member that just slipped in here about 5 minutes ago can talk to us about, and that was in the second round. Was drafted onto a North Stars team was Mr. Paul Ben Belletti.
Yeah, I mean Ben he's a tough one. I mean he's old as dirt. He can do everything. He's very intelligent. He's the locker room guy. Can be a little fragile. He had a hernia. He had some kind of injury at some point. So it's hard to say where is he. Is he just there?
He's not a stallion.
Happy to be there. Is he happy to be there? Yeah, I don't miss games.
He's really. Not a stallion like you.
No. Is he? He has it all, but he's kind of like the happy old guy. But I had faith. I saw the way he competed on the Tigers when I was coaching the Tigers, and I think he played against us, right? So I mean, he was tough and he was trying. I felt like he was healthy. It's hard to pick a 50-year-old guy in the second round, but I knew all along I was going to throw that at Troy because I threw it at him like 3 weeks in advance before the draft, and he shot it down. He's like, Andy Fem. And Andy Fem's a great player, super fast, super young, super nice. Like I don't know him that well, but every time I've been in the locker room, he's a great guy. But I knew my strategy going into the draft was right at the moment of impact. Right before we got up there, I was going to tell him, Ben, and he'd give in. And you see Ben, how cute he was looking with his long hockey hair, and he'd give in because we've seen Ben wearing the North Stars shirt multiple times, pictures, and I knew all that. But it wasn't the reason why I want Ben is just because he's the smartest hockey player, and we kind of went with that theme, even though we got a bunch of old sacks the whole way down. But we went with our theme of smart hockey players. And not necessarily speed, and we will find out how it ends up. But that was my plan going in the whole time, was to just sabotage the Fem thing. And that kind of, who drafted right after us? Was that the Tigers? Or no, that was the Whalers. They were shocked. Or Americans. Who was right after us? They were absolutely shocked. They were going to take Ben. They already had it written up. They thought we were taking Fem, and they had to go into their war room and talk about it for a while. So it kind of shook things up. But,
I believe that might have been the Tigers.
It was the Tigers.
Because
whatever. Ryan Allen went into panic, and that was like his first. Ryan Allen multiple times had to call Skillman. He was scared. He got nervous. It was the big room. the lights. Ryan Allen was like, "Oh, Jeff, help!" They took and so it really shook them up, and maybe that's what caused the Tigers to have such a poor draft, a poor team this year.
Hot take.
Yeah, I just know Troy. There was a few times he was texting me and Dougie trying to get some insight. We pretty much did not say anything about any players we thought about, but he'd send us like 15 texts without us answering, just like talking about players. And he's like, Tigers, they're taking Ben. I know it. We're taking Fem. It'll leave you with this guy. Like, this is exactly how it's going to fall out. And all of a sudden, Ben, like, I only trusted about 20% of what Troy was saying during his text messages to us, but I did not think the Ben part was part of his strategy of like, I'm going to throw people off the set.
Troy was being honest the entire time, and he was being honest with the Pete pick. We had the Pete pick lined up, and he put it out there, and then Busted go, "Oh, you got it all out. We're taking Suitsy, and we're taking, no, we had Pete just because it was a tough decision between Suitsy and Pete, but we had Pete year one. We know what Pete is, and we just decided to go with the old guard." And the Ben one, like I said, I had it planned out. It was a little devious on my part because I knew I was going to do it, and I knew Troy would give in. And I think it's for the best. It wasn't like I'm trying to sabotage our own team. I think it's for the best, and sometimes you just gotta do it the way you can.
So let's go through each team. We'll go in the order of the goalie draft and kind of give our initial thoughts on that and go from there. So first up would be the Whalers. Their team has and I kind of got some lines listed. These probably aren't 100% right, but they're the best I was going.
The ones that Troy or you put together, someone put these together, and
this is what I put together. So I got Trent, Matt Taylor, Busta, Turtle Tim, Dave P, Justin, Sawokis, Alaverde, Simonelli with Brawny, and then Dylan Lesnar as their goalie. So, Ty, thoughts on the Whalers?
Whalers, they were doing great, and then what did they take vape?
The biggest surprise, actually after that, my second biggest surprise on the board was the the Turtle Tim pick. So they chose Turtle Tim. He can play forward or defense. They chose him in the third round after you guys chose like Ben, and Chris Taylor was still on the board. And the high flying Taylor brothers love playing together, and Matt has expressed that before. And honestly, if you're no offense to Turtle, but you're looking at players on a board and you have Chris Taylor or Turtle Tim, Chris Taylor's probably a better forward than Turtle is, and defensively, I'd say they're about probably even. So if you're gonna choose a player, why not just choose the guy that's like the brother and that's the better player? But they went Turtle Tim. He's a locker room guy. So
and then who did we come back with the third? Because I'm gonna go back to that pick. But in the third, we took Kimmel, or did we take?
You guys took Lapudre.
Lapudre. We took Lapudre. Yeah. So yeah, we were surprised with that pick. I was trying to get sneaky with Troy as well because I wanted to do Turtle. I was doing smart player theme, and Turtle's a very smart player, and that one threw me for a loop when the Whalers just took that one. I was like, okay, well that makes that easier. I'm not going to be able to do this little throw Turtle in like I did with Ben. So then we had our thing, but yeah, that was interesting. I personally like it because like I said, I genuinely was going to try to take Turtle Tim. And I don't know. I'm happy now that I have Matt Lapudre. Like in hindsight, I'm like, dude, he's freaking solid. I just played against him, and even though he injured Gio, he's a decent person.
Yeah, the Turtle one was, Turtle's a great player. He could probably be a top defender in the league if you can put him there. I don't know if their lineup's going to allow them to do that. Dave P one was another surprising one for me just because he was a Whaler last year. Obviously I guess he scored what you expect, even though you always want more out of him at that point. Plus the curse of Dave P. I was kind of surprised. He went at I think it was the fourth round, like a pick or two before the end of the fourth round, which there was other players there listening back to you guys at the actual draft. That's up at YouTube as well. The whole draft is now posted. You guys were pretty surprised by that pick as well, I believe.
Yeah, that was the next pick that was just kind of like from right field. I mean, after the third round Turtle pick, it kind of every round seemed to have like one guy. You're kind of like, where's this team's direction going again? And the Whalers overall, their team, I mean, on paper, it looks okay. But if the idea for Trent to switch up like GM-manship with Serta and have Busta be his GM, and then they just go out and draft the same guys every single year, like Turtle Tim and Dave P, and just plug in one different dude or one different goalie, the results are going to be the same. Like, we'll go into the teams and later rankings later, but to me on paper, like the Whalers just look like a amalgamation of the Ducks and in the Whalers of last year, which both were not winning organizations. So
Yeah, obviously, I think most teams actually have a pretty decent lineup. So I think they look pretty good on paper, but we'll see. Next up in that order would be the Americans, which I have a lineup of Math, Suits, Antioch, Guma, Manny, Joe Ellis, Edge, Wilkie, Wells, and Turnbull with Pengrazi, I think that's how you say it, is the goalie as well. So, Hedis, let's start over on your side. What did you think of this team?
the Americans have a stalwart strategy in place every single year. It's called the New Jersey Devils from 1990 to all the way up to 2005 because that's how they draft their teams. The defense and goaltending on out. Like they get 2 goals, 1 goal a game, and then they just play really great defense, and that's how they win their games. And sometimes Antioch goes off and they get 4 goals a game. So their team's got 5 defensemen, arguably. I mean, you listed Edge as a defenseman. He could also play forward, and like this, the lineup that Troy put out, which is kind of weak, but like you put Math, you can put Math back at defense, Edge back up at forward. I mean, you have options. You have 5 defensemen there. You have Turnbull, Wilkie, Math, Wells, and Edge. Like that's having a surplus and like ability to have your lineup be mobile means you don't have to trade later in the season. So for me, I thought the Americans had a solid draft.
Yeah, I would have. It was tough having that the second line, a little bit of weakness there, I think. Maybe you put an Edge up there like you said and you move Manny back. Or maybe,
Jason Wells could even play up on a forward. And I know they wanted to play defense, but
that's a possibility too. So one of those guys, but when you kind of look at how it's constructed there, that second line could have some issues scoring, but as long as they keep stuff even on the defensive side, that shouldn't be a problem. I think Antioch and Suits with a MAF or however that goes, I think they'll put up points on that side. But, another good constructed team. Ty, thoughts on the team?
The only thing, I love Guma, and I wanted to try to get Guma, but he kind of falls into where I get drafted. And the only thing that the Turnbull at 5 was I thought a little early. He is good, but it's just like
he was just the best he was the best defenseman available on the board at that time.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I like Turnbull. I think ever since he, lost weight when he was on the North Stars, but I don't know. That seems a little early. What?
Getting the inside scoop, the Americans and to get the NHL insider Pierre LeBrun look, they took that pick and they drafted Turnbull because they felt the Seals, because they had the pick before the Seals. They felt the Seals needed a defenseman. They were going to draft Turnbull. And then Seals went off the board with another one of my Spicy's top 5 surprise picks of the draft with Chad later on, and then throwing him at defense, which I didn't even know he played defense. So
he played defense with the North Stars until he quit when Troy yelled at him in front of a public audience of 20,000.
What is this, ancient Rome?
Yeah, we knew going into the draft that there was a lack of defensemen that you probably wanted playing at the back. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to make sure kind of before our 6-7 keepers that we could fill up a defensive lineup if needed. So, and if you kind of look in those, 5, 6, 7, even 8 defensemen were going off the board left and right. And I think it left some quality players that play forward only. They fell, which was then, good for teams that had those defensemen early.
Mm-hmm. And you can get Joe Ellis. I mean, Joe Ellis, the one thing he can always do is put the puck in the net. So you get a goal scorer at 6. That's good. And you get Guma. I mean, life is good. Math is rock solid. You got Wilkie. Yeah, it's a solid team.
Yeah, moving over to the Tigers. I have a lineup right now of Skillman, Pfister, Weaver with Pellet, Fem, Drago, Judge Allen, Eric Lapoudre, Gibb, and Cam. To me, looks like a pretty solid lineup. You got 2 top-tier guys with a Pfister and Fem with some nice help with Pellet. Skillman, defensemen, you got some solid guys with Lapoudre, Judge with some quality second guys on those lines. Cam, always a solid goalie. So this team constructed well. I would have liked to seen what they would have done, maybe if they could have boosted up if you didn't do that trade there. Mm-hmm. But, they're solid, but I think there are some holes on this team.
I mean, if they're picking where the Deeks are picking, they have Jim Ellis instead of Drags up there at forward. I don't know how much of an improvement one over the other is. It's kind of a wash to me. Cam is definitely better than Sam. I'm not gonna say by like leaps and bounds. I don't know how much of it matters in Monday Night Lights. It's more so the coverage on the ice. I mean, North Stars kind of showed this year that even if you have this perceived quote unquote worst goalie in the league, like if you have a strong middle and you play that strong triangle hockey and you have good defense, I mean, you can win your games if you hit people on the counter. So for me, the Tigers won the first 4 picks of their draft. Their first 4 picks, the way everything fell to them, I thought they knocked out of the park. They went Pfister, Andy Fem, Judge, and then Skillman. That's arguably like of the top 4. That's arguably the best top 4 like any team can ice. But like you said with the trade, they kind of lost value in those middle rounds, which kind of hurt. So they kind of lose flexibility in the sense that Judge kind of has to play defense, and then they have to either parade Weaver or Ryan Allen on defense. And for me, Ryan Allen is a defenseman. I know that he might want to try to play defense, but he's just not a defenseman, and he can use his size better up on forward. So I'd probably put Weaver back there, and then you have to split up Weaver and Bob, et cetera, et cetera. So they're a little shaky at the back. Cam might have to do a little bit standing on his head this year, kind of like the Seals a couple years ago. But if you know Cam, or I mean the league knows Cam, he steps up the challenges pretty well. So
Yeah. Moving on to the Maroons. Next in there we have Proctor, J-Flo, Jim Ellis, Rakowski, Sips. We're putting Doug right now as a forward, John Star Myers, Alan Z, Piercy with Andrew K as the goalie. So Ty, thoughts on the Maroons?
Yeah, they got Proctor.
Hedis, can you give us something better than that?
So the Maroons for me, I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I love the Rakowski pick that you guys took. It was the 5th round. It was the 5th round he fell to, and you guys had back. But yeah, that was a steal in my opinion. After seeing, I mean, his Grant was only 1 skate, but he was great. J Flo was a safe pick. I mean, but he was on the board, probably arguably like one of 2 players that was probably best available. Sips slipped hard this year, just from the amount of talent that was added in the league, and being able to get a player like Sipsy that can like a late round center like Neville, but actually motor like is phenomenal. And
Yeah, I'm Sips at 9 is a steal.
so yeah, I agree. I mean, having him is fantastic. You still have the Paul Proctor, John Starr combo that's been put back together. The band's got back together for a 3rd time. It's like Metallica now, and it's like 2020, like 2015, 2020s. They're getting back together again. Yeah.
I thought I was looking at the Americans lineup. When I see Proctor Star, I just think Americans.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks now. Is they've been
It's
together
red
in
and
the
white.
Americans so often. So I think the best mobility, I guess the best facet of the Americans is you guys got the goalie you kind of wanted. You see the Americans. See, I'm calling the Americans because you're calling the Americans now, and they're also maroon, and it's red, and it's just screwing with us. Long story short, they're another team I like the look of because they don't have to necessarily make any trades throughout the season. If they want to, they have a lot of flexibility in positions they can trade, but they don't have to because you guys have 5 defensemen. You have Dougie's technically a defenseman, but just wants to play forward. So if Dougie doesn't work out at forward, Alan Z could play up. If Alan Z doesn't work out at forward, Nick Myers can play up. I mean, you guys have like 3 to 4 guys on your roster that can rotate, and you have, no matter what, you have at least 2 centers that are solid. You could put J-Flo at center, you could put Rakowski on the wing, or you could put Proctor at center and then put like J-Flo on the wing. You have a lot of lineup flexibility, and not like some other teams in the league. For example, like the Tigers.
Piercy, are you lined up to be defense or forward?
I'm lined up right now to be a defenseman. It's probably where I'm better than. I think we were happy with how the draft fell for us. I think during our Tuesday we met, we had our mock draft going. I think we had our first 7 picks we thought were going to be available to us. Now, obviously, me and Doug were keepers on there. Our next guys, we didn't think any of those. We didn't think Sips was going to be there. We thought Nick Myers was already going to be gone. So those were just extra value picks in our mind. And like you said, Myers can play defense. Doug can play defense. Alan Z can play defense. So we wanted to make sure before we got to our keeper picks that we were going to have enough defensemen there that have to fill it. We just then got the bonus of Nick Myers being available there as well, that we can move back or we can move forward as well. And we actually reached out to Sips before the draft and asked him how he was feeling. Technically, he said he hasn't been cleared by a doctor, with what's going on in the world, but he says he's feeling a lot better. So we're hoping / expecting that he's going to be healthy going into this year, going to have a lot more playing time, and his draft value is going to go up a lot for next year. So we're pretty happy with that. We've only seen our goalie once, but we thought he had, solid technique. He looked pretty good. So as long as he's not, keeping us out of games, we think we should be pretty good there. So next team on the list would be the Seals. We have a lineup of them of Shawnee, Serta, Krunk, Wood, Neville, Rattler, with Rubel, Chad P, Leroy, Todd, and Z. So I'll start out with this one. I think overall, obviously here the question is Chad a defenseman? That's a tough one right there. If he can play defense, this team is probably pretty good. Serta, Shawnee, that's a scary lineup right there by itself. Lots of speed. It's going to be tough to handle there. Rattler, Wood with Neville. Neville's a solid guy you get in the 9th, 10th round who can play center. He can handle that. And, Leroy, Rubel, Whoop, better than last year, I expect, with him still losing weight, looking better and better. To me, the big question is, 1, can Chad play defense? And 2, does Chad want to play defense?
You want to take it?
Chad, I'm not very good at Chad questions.
Okay. All right. So I don't think that's the only factor on this team for me. I mean, sure, granted, Chad is a big piece of that puzzle. Can he anchor a second line defense with either Leroy or Whoop? Question mark. I mean, I'm on board with you there. Whoop's this draft, I don't know if this was draft by committee or kind of who chose who, but I am thoroughly unimpressed with the Seals this year, to be honest. I mean, I'm going to wait to rank people later on, but for me, the Seals just don't. I mean, Serta, Shawnee, sure, they have their speed and they're scary, but Serta's not going to generally be goalies like one-on-one. I mean, maybe the goaltending talent this year is a little bit lower, so then some of the guys in the second, third round, they have a lot more goals and there'll be more goal production overall in the league. That's a possibility. But, I mean, if you're asking whether Serta's Fister or you're asking whether Serta is even his I think it was his buddy he brought in, that Drake Braun, that guy, like, or does he have a shot like Matt Taylor? I don't think so. I don't think he does. And they're both, in my mind, kind of a similar player in the same vein. It's kind of like getting two. You have a choice to pair somebody with. You have a choice to choose like Backstrom and Alexander Ovechkin together on the same line, and they kind of went with like Backstrom and Backstrom on the same line. So like now they have two playmakers, and that can they can score goals when they need to sometimes, but against like in hard spots we saw in the playoffs this year with the Seals, sometimes it can be tough for Shawnee to break down defenses, and even with a Batman to his Robin. So I'll definitely, for me, it's going to be the X factor on their team is going to be if Serta and Shawnee click, and then I know everyone has been high up on Gangster Wood, but I felt Wood was a little bit of a reach kind of where he was. I mean, he's a good player, and they needed to draft a forward there, but I think if like Chad's playing forward there, and then you draft a different defenseman that is like a stalwart specific defenseman, maybe like a Shepherd or something. Maybe that might play better, but and then Ryan Z pick for me was kind of peculiar.
The one thing about the Seals I'll say is, like I said, Whoop tried to start making the argument about keepers a day or two before the draft. I question, not that he doesn't know who people are, but how much he was looking at the draft, doing mocks. And I feel like he was, which sometimes could be a good thing, but he was kind of doing best player available, not knowing how deep or how shallow positions were. And I feel like he wasn't really drafting a team. He was just drafting players, and that could bite him in the ass coming up.
Yeah, that's true. Did that affect you at all when the picks came to you guys in the North Stars? Did you feel you guys had to draft positionally for need, or did you have to draft kind of just best player available like Whoop did?
I mean, yeah, you're always battling whether you do the best player. You're trying to put a team together. But we kind of stuck to the playmakers and figured we had a lot of versatility because you can put a lot of our players at. Troy can play defense or offense. Who else have we got? Who's on our team?
I mean, Ben plays forward and defense too sometimes.
Ben can. Lapoudre plays defense. We could play. Kimmel's dabbled in defense. Ait is a defenseman or a forward. He's like what he wants to play forward. Sikorsky's both. Like we have a lot of buys on our team. They would go both ways. Twinkle Toes is going to end up probably playing defense. We have all these guys that go both ways, and it's going to be Twinkle Toes who's going to get first dibs at playing defense on that second line with next to Troy.
And that's actually one of the tough things when we were looking at our mock drafts. we were asking ourselves, should we take the best player available or take that guy that's versatile? And we were just like, well, we know we're going to have some guys playing defense if we're taking a guy with our, I guess it would be second or third pick, whatever you want to say in that wraparound. Like, do we want to take a guy that'll play both, knowing that we're probably going to have to play him at defense anyways? Or do we just want to take the best guy that's a defenseman? So that's why we went with Star, because we're just like, this guy's going to have to play defense probably 90% chance. Let's just go with Star. We know he's a shutdown guy. We know he's got that chemistry with Proctor. So we were just like, let's just not mess around with that versatileness. We know there's other guys later, like an Alan Z we were targeting, they can still do that. So, yeah, so Seals, little mixed reviews on that one. Now going over to the North Stars, we have, I'm throwing over, I had a Kimmel, Pistol Pete, a Bauer. I could be wrong on these lineups with a Ty, Ben, and Venandi, with Matt Lapoudre, Troy, Sikorsky, Ite, and Aaron Riley. Let's start with your team then, since you're the GM, TJ. What were your thoughts going into this?
I honestly just couldn't love my team anymore. I'm just, if Twinkle Toes is a big key to the whole team. If it was, who did we? Oh, I probably feel a little bit more comfortable if it was Drago. We were going to try to make him the defenseman. So when Drago went and we took Twinkle Toes, but I have faith in Twinkle Toes and he can do it. But
you really think Venandi is going to be playing defense for you?
He's definitely starting the season at defense with Troy.
So Ite's going to be a forward?
Ite is going to be a forward. I'm going to be with Ben and Kimmel, two of the brightest and best hockey players in the league, in the second line. And then the first line is going to be Pistol. This is all just to start out. Ite gets first dibs at forward because he really wants to play. So he's going to play with Pistol Pete and I think Bauer's D. Sikorsky. So, yeah. It's going to be old man Sikorsky, old man Ite with old man Pistol. And that's going to be the first line. But the second line is going to be old ass Ben, old ass Ty, and old ass Kimmel.
Wow, this stock of the North Stars is falling more and more now.
Now, maybe there could have been a little hangover because I know you guys already talked about Game 3, but the big lineup change, the big Ty Otto, I put Pistol Pete and Suitsy and Joe Ellis up there, and I said we're gonna do Huggy line number 2. We did Huggy line with Chad back in the day against the Americans a couple years ago, and it worked. And so we said we're gonna make a Skillman sandwich, and we're gonna put Skillman between the two Ottos, and we're gonna do it. When I put it out there, they laughed at me. They said I was stupid. Everyone voted for the normal line, just plug Skillman in for Gio. So we kind of went into the draft thinking we're gonna have a Huggy line, Ty and Troy on offense on the second line, and stick somebody in between us who wanted to succeed. But then we kind of mixed it up, and now Troy wants to make Venandi a defenseman and kind of do that. So it was a hangover from Game 3 a little bit, but I couldn't love our versatility. This is like a Troy loves dabbling. He loves trading. Like, this is like we could have a new lineup every single day of every single week. So, and from that aspect, I love it. And I just love our brains. Like, everyone's smart. Now, do we get burned out of the building? Is the speed can't keep up with the younger teams? Well, time will tell. But our team motto is going to be puck is faster than foot, and we're going to move the puck I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
I think we actually have a voicemail from a caller to talk about a little bit about the North Stars lineup as well.
Okay.
I'm looking into that. Hedis, why don't you give us your thoughts on the North Stars while I'm trying to do that?
Sounds good. So my take on the North Stars is your two biggest concerns in your roster are this. You guys' draft strategy was draft the oldest players available. If you could have a team full of Justin Applicators and Anders Nielsen's, you guys would. And you definitely went out and achieved that. So your average age of your team is like 41. Maybe older than that. Actually,
I think it's
probably older than that.
It's got to be older than that.
I think Bauer and Lapoudre are the oldest two guys. I mean, two youngest guys on your team. And I know Bauer's like mid 30s and Lapoudre is like mid 30s. So like, yeah, your average age is probably like upper 40s, like 49. So you have that going for you, which is with age comes wisdom, not speed necessarily, but maybe Pete can use that Greek strength, the Greek freak, to put some speed on his back. And then the second thing is you were saying you had a lot of flexibility with your roster, defense and forwards. I'm of the opinion I feel like you guys have next to zero flexibility. You have one player I feel like can flex with Ite and maybe Sikorsky, but for me,
Ben,
you just
Kimmel,
I mean, I'm not going to put Ben on defense because after
Ty.
you're abhorrent at defense. I'd rather a pylon back there. You cannot play D. You're too smart for that.
It's a new year, but I'm not going to.
Good, thank God. Like I think Raleigh would stab you in both kneecaps if you were playing D.
No, that's not an option. That's why I play terrible
Yeah,
on D.
but for me, I mean, you stick Ben and you stick Pete together. You've seen that work in the Tigers before, and then you have to play. Troy's too good of a forward. You can't put Troy at defense, and like you have no speed on the second line if you don't put Troy up there. If it's like you, Kimmel, and Troy, like Troy's your speed there. So like you
How
gotta
did
put him
me,
there.
Troy, and Skillman's not a speedster. Me, Troy, Skillman plus 70 in game 3 of the.
It was
We were
plus
plus 70.
It was plus like 4, but okay, continue.
Oh well,
yeah.
we
the North
dominated.
Stars are a weird team. You know, the age is one thing. It's just amazing how you guys drafted all those older players. You look at it, there's a lot of good players on the team, though. I think they're constructed bad. I don't think they have a way of fitting those pieces together as of right now. Will Venandi become a good defensive player? I doubt it.
He's not going to be tough in the corners, or maybe he will.
But
I mean, Bowers,
it does
I think,
it does look like we did get a voicemail. I did find that, so I don't know what it says. Do we want to try to play it?
Oh yeah, this is on topic. We have to play it.
This isn't even the normal way I play them, but let's see if this works. Hopefully, it will.
Hey, this is Bauer calling on behalf of the North Stars, now proud North Stars draft pick. Calling because I had to give my 2 cents on the draft. I was really intrigued by what Trent and the Whalers did. Also, Busta, now co-GM. Coming from the Ducks last year, I really feel like the Ducks were decimated by injuries, mainly Turtle and that freak staph infection he had. And I think it's really interesting that they're now going to be unified, so to speak. And we're going to see the Whalers have Turtle and Brawny and a few other key players from that team that never was really able to get off the ground because of so much bad luck last year. And I think they're going to be a very interesting team to watch out for. But I'm more excited for my North Stars. We may be old. We may be slow. But damn it, we're going to play hard. We're going to play smart. And we're going to catch up on you, especially with Pistol. Can you ever count that guy out? I'm sure as hell happy I'm not going to have to play against him anymore. And I hate to say it, but Sniper, come on. You ever going to count him out either? The guy's a champ for a reason. Thanks, guys.
Dude, I want to run through a fucking brick wall right now. Bauer got me so hyped. I'm going to... Piercy, I'm going to go in the restroom and jerk one off. I'm just so excited.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of feel like Bauer truly wants to be a Whaler right now after that message.
Bullshit, dude. Why am I so fired up then?
If you listen to that, he's like, man, those Whalers, they're kind of like the Ducks.
They really made sense.
I want to come back to them. They got Brawny, they got Turtle, they got Busta. If they had me, it would be so great.
You can tell Bauer is a well-educated, well-spoken human being, fits our team, and he's a smart hockey player. And I don't know, he's a unique guy. I swear to God, Bauer is one of those guys in the league. He plays at the Onyx. I've reffed his game down at Clark Park. I've reffed his games at the Onyx multiple times. He's like the captain. He runs the team. I don't know how he kind of doesn't out there. It's like he's noticeable every time, not just yelling at the refs, which is me. He's noticeable. He leads his team out there on and off the ice. And then he kind of in MNL, he's just kind of, you don't see him, you don't hear too much about him, but I honestly think he's going to thrive as a North Star. I think he's going to come out of his shell, and I think he's going to be reinvigorated. And I knew it was kind of depressing to be on the Ducks, who it always is, but I think it's going to be our guy that we lift up out of the cellar, and he's going to be awesome.
I mean, I was the biggest cheerleader for the Ducks last year prior to Troy at the end of the season going, go Ducks, go. And because I started the locker room quack. And after we won one game subbing, Ben was like, no, we're not doing this anymore. And then what happened to the team camaraderie? What happened to the positive vibes, the momentum going in the next game? Killed, done. So I definitely think Bauer. I mean, Bauer does like playing with Trent. He has sub with the Whalers before, so I think that's why he was talking a little bit about the Whalers. But if he can play defense, that's going to be another question mark. That might be like your third question mark on the North Stars because you guys haven't slotted in defense, and if you move Troy up, either a combination of Troy, Venade, or Bauer is going to have, or Ait, a combination of like 2 out of 4 players is going to have to play defense. So you're going to have to move one of the back end D. Actually, 3 out of 5 if you include Sikorsky. So pick your poison. 3 out of those 5 players are going to have to play defense, and probably 4 out of those 5 or 5 out of those 5 are forwards. But enough about the North Stars. Piercy, who's the next team we should be covering?
Super quick. I'm not going to lie. I never cheered for the Ducks last year. I just wanted one team to get eliminated from the playoffs to make sure we were in. Once they were, yeah, you can win all you want. But outside of that, sorry, we knew one team had to be out. We might as well cheer for the team at the bottom to get the rest of us in. But last team on this list is going to be the Nord Geeks. Their lineup looks like we got Hardy, we got Drake, we got Cone, Peso, Chris Taylor, Mackey with Shepard, Hawk, McShannock, Drager, and the new goalie, Sam. So I'll start with this one real quick. I think this possibly is probably the best team in the league as of right now. Drake, from what I saw, looked like a strong guy. Looked like he could be a number 1 guy. Information I got is he's put on a little bit of weight during COVID, so his skate slowed down a little bit. But I expect once we get back on the ice, him skating there, his stamina is just going to get that much better. He's going to look that much better. I think he's a top tier guy. I think a lot of those trades really helped out this team. They were able to nag a Hawk. They were able to get Shepard in those spots. I don't think they were super concerned about taking a Mackey with that pick compared to, maybe it was a right at that spot. There's not that much difference between them and moved up. And the other thing is a lot of what I was hearing is, Sam was possibly the 4th best goalie available in that range right there, and they got him at 7. So, they probably would have took Cam at 3, but everything I'm hearing, Sam's not that much different from Cam. Maybe Cam's a little bit better. Haven't seen the guys there, but in my mind, I did not think that Sam would be going with number 7 there. So they probably got a goalie they would have went for anyways, if they were 1 or 2 spots back, and they made out with moving up all of their spots.
Yeah, Sam's kind of the X factor there. Amazing. I know he's got new gear. I've seen him play probably more than anybody else recently. He's not bad goalie. I'd say he's similar to was it Kalea or was it the other? Which one was at the skate most recent?
I believe that was
Monday.
Andrew.
That was Andrew. Yeah, he's kind of similar to him in a sense. Maybe a little bit worse just because he has new gear. He's breaking in new gear, but I mean, he did fantastic in our like super whatever A scrimmage thing the other day we played in. He was making lots of sweet saves. So, is he the worst goalie? Is he the 4th goalie? I mean, you guys can all figure it out by the time the season comes around. Maybe the new pads aren't just that. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, you'll figure it out when you play some games. But on paper, for me, the Nordiques roster is lights out. I mean, I did feel it reached a couple times. I mean, they went for Hawk because he's a family guy, and like he's Pandy's brother-in-law. So like could they have gone some maybe different route there? Maybe like grab a Math or somebody else that's a known commodity. It's good at D, yeah, or or someone else in the 7th that's solid there maybe. But I mean, Chris Taylor slipped to them. I mean, they drafted the off ilked Ryan Monet, Mr. Peso himself, that can't score goals, and he's gonna be in a line with either Sugar or Drake. Like it's gonna be one or the other. Like unless you put both of them together, which you could, and then it's gonna be Peso, Shepard, and Cone together on a line. Like that's not bad at all. Like I mean, you could do things there, or you could even put Shepard on defense and move Chris Taylor to center, and then your first line is Drake, Braun, and like Sugar and Charles Mackey, and your second line is Peso, Chris Taylor, and Cone. That's almost like North Stars esque, where sure, like you're gonna have Sheps back on D with McShannock, and it's not the world's best first pairing, and Panty and Hawk aren't probably the world's best second pairing, but they're serviceable mid-round guys enough that having a strong center in the middle and having your second line be almost arguably better than your first line, and your first line is your first 2 round drafted players it's just a solid team.
Yeah, and I've played with Hawk before. whatever. Before he's a good player. I think he was a good pick there. Him and Shepard, I think they might have been back to back or right there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think those were very good picks, very good value. I feel like they were probably the right picks. I have a little bit more knowledge with playing with him, seeing him play more than others, but I don't think it was a reach because it was his brother-in-law. I think it was we know this guy. It was almost like Rakowski, like you were saying in the YouTube thing. You were like, oh, I think he should have went. Like you were calling for him to go like 3 or 4 picks earlier in the draft video. We were looking for a forward there. When you're looking at who was available, I trust Doug on that. He's seen him play more than I have. Plus, there wasn't a lot of good options there, so we kind of rolled the dice, or didn't roll the dice. We went with kind of what we knew, and we probably had a little bit of advantage there compared to other teams. Ty, what are your thoughts on the Nordiques right now?
I just don't see it. I mean, I honestly think there's going to be a race sinking rock to the bottom between them, the Seals, and the Tigers. I just don't see what everyone else sees on that team. I like Shepard and Hawk. I like those picks. I think the Drake one's good from what everyone heard. I did not see him. But I see after they're probably 1-4 to start the year, I think Sugar and Chris Taylor and Peso and McShannock all just get in a huge fight in the locker room. Blood everywhere. Then I think Drager's going to have a tough he's coming back from injury and it's gonna be tough. Koner's good. Shepard, I like the 6-6-7, and probably the Drake from what I've heard. But but I just don't see the chemistry on this team. And once it goes down, and they're gonna be racing to the bottom with the Seals and the Tigers.
From what I've seen from Drake, Braun, honestly, he probably could have gone where Sugar went, and Sugar could have swapped with him. Like he could have been a first round talent.
So that's the one factor I haven't seen.
For me, if you put Sugar with another first rounder, it's like doing the Shawnee Pfister thing, Batman Robin thing again. And Sugar's on another team then at that point where he's not like when the Deeks won the Cup 2 years ago, and it was Proctor, Sugar, and Monet on there, and Peso on there. Sugar didn't have to be the main man, and he probably played arguably his best season of hockey in Monday Night Lights. Yeah. He's kind of slotted in to be the main man, but if he's paired with Fedorov Eiserman or you're with your best buddy, two best of friends, you're Robin Big, he's good to go. I mean, if Drake Braun's playing with him, Sugar doesn't have to snipe all the time because Braun's shot was fantastic. He beat Cam a couple times. I was like, whoa, this guy can actually shoot. He's like a top level shooter probably in this league.
I was kind of expecting the Seals to take Braun with their second round pick there, so I was kind of surprised with that. Serta, we know what he is. He's a proven talent type of thing. I do think they're kind of different players. It is sometimes hard to pick a guy based on one skate, but I would have not said it was a bad pick if they would have went with Drake at that, first pick in the second round.
Especially because he's more of a complementary player to what Shawnee does, whereas Serta kind of does what Shawnee does in a sense. He's probably has a little bit more goal production at times, or maybe a little bit less assists here or there. But in my mind, they're both kind of a similar kind of vein of players with a two-way playmaking forward that will open up space for other players to score. But if they have to score, they can.
Oh, and I know Troy. He was, hearing the rumors before we actually saw him skate. I knew in my mind, I was like, he's going Drake no matter what. And then I think once we saw him skate, he's just deflated. He's like, man, he's not going to be there. He gave up on that right away because he was I think he was the Seals are going to take him. If not, he's going to the Deeks next. So
yeah, I was surprised that I was surprised Todd didn't take Drake just for the fact I didn't see him, but the way he hyped him, and I didn't sense that it was a big bluff or something because I thought he really was, and there was no risk of him blowing cover, and I thought it was free to be his pick, and I was surprised, and just because to take Serta, now Serta's the old guard. Serta's not a sexy pick. It's Serta and the Whalers. You can't get more boring than that. And Serta will come in there and be the third GM because when Serta is not afraid to share his opinion, and not that that's a bad thing, but he's now you got another chef in the
too many cooks in the kitchen. Many cooks.
Yeah. So I thought Whoop was going to try to be exciting because Whoop's known to if he feels it, he's not afraid to go on a limb. He's made some amazing draft picks in the past, and I give him credit. I think he kind of went boring, and I don't know if he was just shell shocked still from Game 3, but I was shocked that he just didn't go for the excitement. He just kind of went with Serta. Serta's kind of boring.
It's definitely pundit arguable between who you ask in the league, but arguably the best drafter in the league, like drafting talent, like finding people in the rough,
Thank you.
is between definitely not you. You guys draft.
Sorry.
I was about to say.
I'm sorry.
You're about to hear the paradox of that. It's probably Whoop and Skillman. I mean, Skillman's only played one season, so he doesn't have a track record. But being able to find guys that are like drafting guys that are great players that play above their value. Whoop, like you said, he found Dylan last year. The year before that, he drafted Aaron Riley. They got, or 2 years before that, he got to the keg. I mean, he takes flyers on people that people don't expect. And this year, he kind of, his biggest flyer was Chad. So, actually, his biggest flyer I thought was Ryan Z. Actually, that's the biggest flyer I thought he took because, arguably, some of the goalies they brought in the league this year that a lot of people didn't get to see, or only saw once, could have been better than Ryan Z. But like he said, he's a goalie whisperer, so we'll see if he can whisper into sweet nothings into Ryan Z's ear.
So, Hedda, since you're the non-GM of the group, I'm going to ask you these questions, and Ty can give his thoughts if you want to afterwards.
Yes, please do, because I like hearing Ty's. Ty's got hot takes.
So, with the draft, what team did the worst?
Ooh, they're not gonna like.
I don't want to do necessarily,
No,
unless you
yeah.
want to do power rankings. I was just going to do best and worst,
No.
unless you have power rankings.
No,
So we'll go with the worst.
I feel like they're gonna hate me for saying this, but for me, the worst team in the draft is probably the Seals. They don't have a lot of flexibility for me. If Chad doesn't work out at D, I mean, who are they going to put back there in the second line? And like, not to say that Whoop's an anchor because he's not. He's getting better. He's been losing weight, but there's other defensemen available where Leroy was. They could have drafted. I mean, I know Leroy's a solid player and he fits like Whoop's style, but they could have gone a different route after seeing what did or didn't work last year. I thought the Ryan Z pick was a little bit of a reach. For me, the Seals are kind of on the bottom. The team that's slightly above them that edge them out in the draft just because they don't have the flexibility. They don't have flexibility just like the Seals, but I kind of like we've seen the pairings work before on other teams as the North Stars. I feel like you guys have some synergies within your locker room that you've played out before in other seasons. I mean, Ben and Pete together, the Tigers closing 4 games in the season, like when Matt Taylor can play like the last 4 games. Pete played like 3 out of those 4 games, and Ben was his winger. And guess what we did? We won through all 3 of those. So it's pretty evident that Pete and Ben can work really well together. Sikorsky, you know what you have there. He played with really well. Ite's kind of like a poor man's speedier version of Marvin, I guess. So I mean, you can plug him in there. So for me, the big question is on defense. So I mean, like you guys are barely above the Seals there for me for your team. But teams that won the draft for me, that just knocked out of the park, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The Maroons, you guys, I love your roster. You have a lot of flexibility. You don't have to make trades if you don't want to, but if you do make trades, tons of value because the players you guys got are flexible, can play forward and or defense, and are generally guys that have upswing. I mean, everyone would love to have Alan Z in their team. If you were like to the North Stars right now, like, oh, we need to get a defenseman. You want to trade for Alan Z? Yeah, Alan Z, I like him at D. Like people might go out of the way to
rocket
do
of a
trade.
shot.
That's fair. Another
rocket of a shot. Been hearing it.
That's true.
Has he scored one yet?
No, because you can read it. But if he starts doing more snapshots, it'll start going more goals in the net. Another team that did fantastically well, I think all 3 of us touched on it, was the Nordiques. The Nordiques definitely knocked it out of the park. The only big question back there is Sam, I guess on goalie, because no one's really seen him play that much. And whether Chris Taylor is going to be a center to start the season or on defense. For me, I would just go full power mode. I'd put Chris Taylor on the second line and recreate like a metaphorical parallel of the North Stars this year, where your second line is almost as good as if not better than your first line. You only have one bender in the top, and then you just steamroll teams with fantastic, middle center, top triangle presence in the neutral zone. Your D just has to make simple passes and dig the puck out of the corners. And I mean, they can do that. Shepard can do that. So, X Factor team for me is kind of the Tigers. Tigers definitely they have some weak spots in their team, but they also have a dynamite first line, and Skillman can definitely play fantastic on that second line center role with Pellet. I know Pellet doesn't score a lot, but he's got great hockey IQ. So, and then I guess like the other 2 teams that were pretty that did well, I would put the Americans above the Whalers there. I'd probably put the Whalers below the Tigers, and then the Americans above the Tigers, just because defensively they're more stout.
Any final thoughts from you on the draft, Ty?
I mean, I think I just love our balance. I think we're gonna probably be an easy first. I think we're gonna tinker all year long and kind of just feel it out and try to peak towards the end. I hope we don't have one of those years where we just win the presidents and then fizzle out at the end. But so, and then I mean, I think the Americans will or not Americans, the Maroons. Sorry, Maroons will hang on just for the Proctor factor, and they'll probably come in second, and I think they'll be battling. I think they'll be battling. Oh God, I'm gonna see the Whalers. I think the Whalers and the Maroons will battle for second place for the bye, and then as far as the rest, the other teams, I honestly think it's a race to the bottom. I just don't see them any of them winning many games. Those four is the Seals. Who we got? Seals, Deeks, Tigers, and what's the other one? Americans. I don't see it. I don't see good teams. I don't see good chemistry. I just don't see it happening. I think they're going to lose a lot of games. I think it's always going to be about the Whaler. The Whalers have Matt Taylor will will them. You saw how passionate he was on Slack that one day saying, and I believe him. I think he's pissed off. I don't think it's going to lead to anything in the playoffs, but I'm sorry. So I think it's North Stars, Maroons, and Whalers battling for that second spot. And then those bottom four are just going to struggle.
So to wrap things up, a few things just to let people know. Obviously with Hazel Park is still closed. Viking Ice Arena is still closed right now. Troy is currently open. We've been trying to get some times. They've mostly been coming on Fridays. We've been trying to get teams to fill them out. There hasn't been an official preseason schedule because of that. It's been tough. Obviously people go up north, things like that on a Friday. So we've been doing our best to fill those in coming along. Usually the opening day of Monday Night Lights is the Monday after Labor Day. Obviously, that's kind of a to be determined thing as well, based on if Hazel Park is open or not. Hopefully, things will be going in the right direction, and those will open up on time for that. If not, things could be delayed a little bit as well. So, besides that, doing the podcast, not sure if the podcast is going to be weekly this year. So, it's tough.
What? I mean, it's way better. Like, I don't even feel like I'm in the mode now. I feel like I always have to have a game that just happened, fresh in your mind. The emotions are still there. Normally it's after a win. I'm just feeling like, wow, we just did it again. We're keeping that best record in MNL going. But I just love it after a game. Like even today, I'm late, and I'm not the draft expert. Like that's more. I feel like I'm not the best for a draft.
You're
analysis.
not the draft expert, but you took over the draft for the North Stars. I guess that's why
I know
you're
players.
towards
No,
the
I know
bottom.
players. I'm not good at like the trades and the numbers. Troy just puts Troy's like puts like A or B, A or B, A or B over and over again to me, and I just eat like a monkey. So, and I am good at picking the good one, but I don't have any desire because there's just he does too much of it. So it's just like, what am I going to do? I'm going to give you your other 100 mock drafts and fucking try to overtake it. So it's a good team. We work well together. We both specialize in our own things.
I love that Troy puts all this effort into like the Taylor Tinker Soldier Spy. Like, he could dive in the weeds to like, get his team perfect. And arguably of like the autos between you and like Whoop and actually in the league, Troy and you guys draft pretty terrible. Like you guys have had one year where you drafted.
Are we 52 and whatever that record is?
I'm getting to that. Sweet baby Jesus. Okay.
Sweet baby Jesus.
Yeah. Besides that one year, I think was year 2 of when you guys like had the longest Monday night like win streak, whatever ever, and Americans ended up winning. Blah blah blah. And that year you guys drafted well, but since then, I mean, I feel like every year you've made a trade, haven't you? That's where you guys excel.
The first year we did not.
Were you in the finals the first year?
No, but
okay.
We're the only team that could possibly beat Proctor that year. Okay. We beat them, had a winning record against them, and just didn't get to the Whalers.
Okay. Did you trade not this season but the season prior to when you played against the Nordiques in the finals?
The house year, I didn't even play. I didn't see the puck the whole year. I didn't even get one pass. So
did they trade anybody that year?
I don't care I don't care about the North Stars.
But that's my point. So my point is that the North Stars are good, excellent at trading. You guys make trades work in your favor, and then you kind of flip your roster around and that's how you kind of.
Yeah, I don't think we did trades. We did the big trade. We did the trade before the draft, so I don't know if that counts with your theory.
So, anyways, back what I was saying.
We gave them Sugar and Proctor.
Back what I was saying is I don't know if there's going to be a podcast every week. With last year, I had to do it every week. Not everybody else. Hedis, you did it probably more than anybody else, but
you
still,
have to drive the least
not every
distance.
Week. It's still a lot of work.
Yeah.
There are, and
this
has nothing to being a GM or not. I still want to do it, still help out. Could be a thing, as I know in the past, Dylan was talking about him and Dave P trying to do it. Maybe there's a rotation.
There's not a possibility there. Zero.
I'm reaching out to my Ivory Tower members right now. Get Piercy out of the Ivory Tower. Back where he belongs. Full-time host of the thing. Let's go. Reconsider. I take back my vote right now. Fuck him. He's ditching the podcast because he's a mid-macho Ivory Tower guy. Please. I'm calling out everyone. Immediate vote as soon as this is over.
Hey, there could even be other options. It could be, obviously, we don't have a lot of faith in Dylan and Dave P because they were talking for months about doing summer ones during COVID ones. Or it could even be a fact if someone kind of wants to take over the hosting duties and still doing it here. A lot of the trouble for me is trying to plan stuff during the day, find co-hosts, all that other stuff that I don't necessarily have time to do every week. So if someone's interested in hosting it, even in here, let me know and I'll do more of a producer role and let them kind of take control of that as well, because I do think it's fun for the league as well. I just wanted to throw it out there to other people as well. That could be a good thing just because it is hard to find people to come in every week, try to do the format, make sure I'm updating all the stats, everything else. Where if there's someone that wants to take over that as well, that could be something to help it go every week. So
I think
just something, if you're interested, let me know.
And I mean, I think we can always find a host. I think a lot of people don't try to help out because, like, I've wanted to come on a couple times. I thought this is a good day, but I'm like, I get the Piercy, too many North Stars. We don't want good ratings. We don't want views on YouTube. He's the YouTube leader. We don't want him. We want to get somebody who will talk and babble on and keep it cozy and vanilla for everyone and not say bad things about people.
Hey, look, I had a chocolate swirl episode. Okay, let me tell you how good that went.
I don't know. I could easily help to get 4 people is easy, but I always felt like there's this Piercy's eyes looking down on who you.
I always judge you on everything you do in lifetime.
Everyone.
And most of the time you disappoint me. I'm not gonna lie, but every once in a while you come through. You're like your voicemails. Those are classic. It's your strong point in your life.
Thank you.
Sorry, Dad. I disappointed you again.
But yeah, if you have any interest in that, reach out to me. Let me know. We can work something out as well. If not, maybe bi-weekly, monthly, maybe monthly. Maybe it's changing the day every couple of weeks. Like if it's on a Saturday during the day or something. Just sometimes it's tough. Every Tuesday, essentially playing hockey. Monday podcast Tuesday, Wednesday hockey, Friday hockey.
Yeah,
it's a very big schedule outside of like.
I see that.
I'd like to find a wife eventually. Of course, right now it's not the best time.
Oof.
Dude, just don't worry about it. You're not missing out on anything except for children.
I'm not missing out on that one.
You can do that on your own. But no, I still think you're missing out when you have the raw emotion of the next day, I think is the best. But that if you have to do a different day, you have to.
Hey, it can be switched around. It's just, like I said, there's a lot to it on top of it that I don't necessarily have time to do it every week in and out. And this has nothing to do with being a GM or not. Like it was almost like last year, by the end of the year, I was getting very burnt out. And it was just like, I got to complete the whole season every week type of thing of just like, I have to do it. I feel like it committed. We're doing it, getting it done type of thing. So any interest, let me know. Besides that, anything else anybody has right now?
I would like to, whenever we do the next podcast, there are some rumors that most of the jerseys have been provided as images, PNGs files to most of the teams. And I think there's been probably 20 or so individuals in the league that actually have seen all the jerseys. Next pod, definitely think we're going to have a jerseys ranking, including that, whatever that will be. Definitely going to have to touch on some of the first scrimmages. I know that Sam hasn't been seen yet by anybody else. Word on the street is next time the Seals might get in, or the Tigers might get in, they might be using Sam as the goalie if Claus can't make it, or maybe Ryan Allen's buddy. There's a couple different things we can talk on in the next pod. So
that's an interesting thing. Part of it was in the Ivory Tower was Troy was like, I got ice time here and here. Like the first teams that can make it happen, do it. And it's just like, there's some people that are, rookies that are new to Slack. They don't know what's going on. There's a lot of people that actually have a life outside of this, unlike us, who don't pay attention to Slack as much, where you're just like, hey, channel, who wants to play? And, you you get your first 4 or 5 people are like, boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden another team's like, oh yeah, we got 8 already. You guys are in. It's just like, darn it.
Yeah.
So
No, I'm looking forward to the season. I pray to God that we get to play it. I would like to have a year of less injuries. I just would like everyone to just kind of regroup, not kill each other. I mean, I think it was a peaceful year. I just can't believe how many injuries there are year in a season. It's just it bugs me. I mean, I used to run over people year one, and I stopped. And when I see Matt Taylor come on, that's the one thing that, if I'm perfectly honest, that sparks me. Like, so he's never on Slack, and then he just comes on and says, and I heard rumors that he's going to kick everyone's ass, and he's a very physical young player, and I just, I if he was on there all the time, Joe, being cocky, I guess I'd be take it a little better, but he just comes on and he's just very aggressive, and we all want to win, we all want to play hard, but I don't want to see a bunch of injuries, and I don't like that coming in. He's already a physical guy, and I've heard the rumors that he said that he was going to, kick everyone's ass and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just want to have a good, fun season, and the key is on fun and getting a little exercise and just letting the North Stars win. Just let us win.
Yeah,
Don't hurt the old guys.
As long as Pete can do the Greek freak thing and beat on people's sticks and arms.
No, I try to keep.
It's legal with everywhere else.
You can ask Pete. You can tell. I call Pete when he's a North Star as calm as he is on any team. Like, I don't like Pete has a level, but I think he's toned it down, and I try to keep him calm because I think and try to get him to play just nice old man clean hockey. He's got obviously an intensity level. Like when I walked up to the game 3, oh my God, you see Dylan there sitting on his lazy boy meditating or whatever he made his man-made lazy boy, and then Pete was pacing the whole building. I'm like, give me my vodka and my iced tea. These guys are stressing me out. The goalie for the Seals is meditating. Pete's pacing the place. Pete has an intensity level, and he sometimes doesn't realize how strong he is on his skates. But I think when he's a North Star, he's in his best mode available. And I just hope everyone kind of just does it. Okay.
yeah, I don't think anybody's looking for injuries. I think that's just people wanting to win. I think everybody wants everybody to be safe, have a good time. Hopefully the season will start on time. But besides that, I think we are over. Later.
Cheers.
Facts.